Hi, thanks for watching my video. Growing Together is the latest expansion pack for The Sims 4, and it would be fair to say that a lot of hype has been generated for this pack, promising to make familial relationships far more in-depth and adding game-changing features like a milestone system and more meaningful interactions. The excitement for this expansion has been high indeed, but does it hold up to par? Well, I've had a few days to play about with it, and I have a few thoughts. So let's start off with the most boring part of the pack, which is the world. Sequoia is a San Francisco-inspired town, and it does have unique features, such as the Sequoia tree stumps, the water park and the walking trails, which I'll get more into later on, but generally, I thought this world was a bit uninspiring. I've always made comments about how worlds in The Sims 4 are generally the nicest looking when you're in them. Out of all the Sims games, that is. Like, the set dressing is pretty. But with this world, it just didn't feel that special. In my opinion, it just doesn't have as much personality as the worlds we've had in the last two packs. And there's a lot of unusable set dressing. There are three main areas in San Sequoia. All of them have a lot of set dressing that you can't actually interact with. Outside of the short walking trails and small water park area, the only thing you can do here is go to one of the two community lots and the Rabbit Hole Cinema. We do get a new lot type, Celebration Centre, which is in the neighbourhood of Gilbert Gardens. The centre's quite a good place to gather the family, with an area for infants and toddlers, music and art rooms for the creative types, and a game centre with several of the new games tables. You'll also find walking trails in this area, giving Sims the option to walk, run, or power walk, so Grandma Joan can walk off the hip she put out after a night of furious passion with Grandpa. And you'll also find the water sprinklers, a spot that is admittedly a very cute place to take the family. There's also the neighbourhood of Anchor Point Wharf, which is home to the new library, which I prefer to the older libraries because it has a colourful child section. And just across the way you'll find the movie theatre, which is a rabbit hole. I mentioned in my playthrough of this expansion pack that I'm pretty chill with this being a rabbit hole. I have no want or desire to manage my Sims in the cinema. Much like the rides in the high school pack, it's just nice to play pretend sometimes. And the last neighbourhood in San Sequoia is Hopewell Hills. And there's really not much to say about this area because there's nothing here really. Just a few residential lots and that's it. Overall, I wasn't too keen on the world itself. I think it's one of the weaker ones we've had in a while. Considering you had fairgrounds, photo booths, ice cream stands and more in the high school pack, and the multiple interactable things in the werewolf world, this one just fell short for me. So let's just move on to Create a Sim. In terms of clothing, the selection on offer was fairly inoffensive. A lot of the clothing was knitted and looked like it was more catered to elder Sims, which is appreciated given that there wasn't really much for them previously, and it was nice to see more items for masculine Sims as well. They typically get less in terms of hair and clothing, but this time there was more of an even split. We also had a load of skin details added, birthmarks, moles and freckles for every life stage, which allows you to make more unique Sims. In addition to the standard clothes and accessories, we also got some new options for personality. We didn't get any new traits, but we did get characteristics, which is confusingly different to traits. I actually think characteristics are a bit more in-depth, because they at least tell you which traits your Sims would conflict with. For example, if you have a Sim with the funny Sim characteristic, they probably wouldn't get along with the Sim with the gloomy trait. This system basically dictates how compatible Sims are. Sims with good compatibility will likely have mainly positive interactions, whereas Sims with bad compatibility will have mostly negative interactions. I was really happy with this addition, and I did see examples of Sims not getting along because of bad compatibility. Then we have conversation topics, which is a way of deciding how Sims will respond to certain interactions. Not influenced by traits, as far as I'm aware. For example, a Sim that is affectionate will likely respond well to an affectionate interaction. Go figure. But a sim that doesn't like jokes or potty humour should react negatively with these interactions. When I tested this, it didn't really work that way though. My unaffectionate child happily accepted a warm hug, and my sim who hates jokes and potty humour responded positively to both. So perhaps it's not applied to every interaction. I will say that my unaffectionate grandpa sim did not take too kindly to an affectionate interaction. So who knows how this works. Great idea in theory though. Family dynamics were also introduced with this pack, meaning that you can choose what type of relationship your family members have with each other. Surprisingly though, this only seems to apply to blood relatives. I couldn't set my Sim's relationship with their father-in-law, which was a bit odd. Your Sim's family dynamic will show up often during gameplay, whether it be from mood buffs and therefore emotions, or from autonomous behaviour. Sims with a jokester family dynamic will be more likely to autonomously tell jokes to each other. I didn't find this feature to be completely game-changing. The behaviour with Sims was subtle, but it's a nice addition and definitely goes some way to making the Sims feel a bit more unique. And finally, in Create a Sim, we have 4 new child aspirations, all allowing the player to take advantage of the new gameplay features. There's Slumber Party Animal, Mind and Body, Playtime Captain, and Creative Genius. We didn't get any new aspirations for the other life stages, but after having only 4 aspirations for nearly 9 years, I was happy to have children as the focus for a change. Moving on to Build and Buy. We got about what you would expect from an expansion. In terms of build items, we got windows, doors, pillars. Not as much as I was hoping for in terms of wallpaper. We got some nice outdoor wall coverings, but nothing for the bedroom, which seemed odd for a pack that is dedicated to family gameplay. Most of the homely items were decor pieces like wall hangings or clutter items. We also had sleeping bags for slumber parties and suitcases for Sims staying over, which behaved just like wardrobes. There were some new community lot items like a new food truck and water sprinklers so you could make a water park if you wanted to, but the main attraction here are the gameplay items, which I've decided to put under the family activities category for gameplay. So, let's move on to the gameplay section, starting with family activities. One new family activity is the games table, offering games that are not Dream Phone. The small selection of games on offer are sure to bring families together, but will offer no insight into how dateable you are to the boys of the early 90s. I do like the addition of these new games. It's quite sweet to see Sims playing cards or Scrabble together, or working together on a jigsaw. There are loads of jigsaw options, and you can create your own jigsaw from reference, so you can give someone the cheesy gift of a jigsaw of themselves. All that being said though, I do think this idea had the potential to be better. Having Sims sitting around a table is nice, but again, it's nothing new really. They already sat around the table to play Don't Wake the Llama or chess. Imagine if we actually got board games that Sims could place on any table, including a dining table, or sit on the floor together and play. That level of detail would have gone a long way, I think. EA, if you are looking for ideas, I have a suggestion involving a telephone, rejection, and an argument with your mates. It'll be fun for everyone. Let's talk about water parks, something I didn't realise I needed. Sequoia has a mini water park thing without slides or a pool in the town centre. And I'll admit, this was a fun novelty to play with. My Sims seem to have a fun time. I personally don't see myself going there too often to play with them, but the objects themselves I can see being really handy if you wanted to build an actual water park, with a pool, and a slide if you bought backyard stuff. Another family activity just so happens to be a beloved object we previously had in The Sims 3, the treehouse. You can recruit the whole family from child and up to build the treehouse. And the animation to do it is actually really sweet. Everyone's being nice, everyone's helping each other. It's like a water bottle to the heart. You do only get one treehouse though, unlike The Sims 3, but you can customise it and create it in 4 different themes, so fair enough. Sims with a high enough handiness skill can even add more to the tree. like a slide for the kids and a pole for mum. You can even place other objects on the decking like a telescope and an activity table, meaning that the whole family, kids and up, can dick about up there together. Friendship bracelets also made an appearance in this pack. This is actually one of my new favourite objects. One of the new events in this pack is Sleepover, and I'll talk more about that later, but making friendship bracelets I think just goes hand in hand with that event. So when your sim chooses another to be their bestest best friend, they can make each other friendship bracelets to tell the world, hey, don't talk to me, I already have a best friend. Growing together also comes with bikes. Not the same bikes we already have, but a special bike that kids can use. Kids can either try and teach themselves to ride a bike if their parents don't love them enough, or a loving adult can take the time to help the scamp ride the wheels. Kids will do what you would expect them to do: stumble around, struggle to keep their balance, and make a real twat of themselves. But with enough encouragement and perseverance, they'll eventually learn to ride a bike. A wholesome process for everyone involved. I do wish kids could fall off and scrape their knees though. It's all in the details. So as it turns out, quite a few objects in this pack can be used for family gameplay. You know what I was looking for though? You know what I couldn't find? The camcorder, shown in the expansion pack trailer. You cannot imagine how disappointed I was when I realised there was no camcorder, despite the clear depiction of one in the trailer. Honestly guys, the list of videos I had based on that clip alone. No more mummy vlogger exploiting her kid's first period for a bit of dollar. No more Mrs. Strep's orphanage revival. The lack of camcorder, EA, really pissed me off. You did it once with the Simpstagram in the Mount Komorebi trailer, and damn it, you've done it again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's not on. So now let's look at more general gameplay features, starting off with my favourite feature, milestones. Over time, Sims will acquire a range of milestones depending on their life stage. Infants, for example, will naturally unlock loads of milestones, like try first food, babble, smile, roll over, and more. Toddlers and children will get different ones like lost first tooth, first day at school, made a friend, and adults will have things like woohooed, got married, had kids, got a job. It's a bit like a simpler version of the Sims 2 memory system. You can look at your Sims milestone panel and see everything that they've achieved throughout their life stage. And they'll sometimes have additional information. For example, a marriage milestone will tell you who the spouse is, and a child's first tooth loss will show the address they were at when they lost it. Oh, and speaking of loose teeth, that's another feature. At some point during the child life stage, you'll get a pop-up saying that your child sim has a loose tooth. You can choose to wiggle it, wait for it to fall out, or you can just pull it out. Once your child sim has their tooth, they can put it under their pillow and wake up to a tooth certificate and some money from the tooth fairy. Children can also gain confidence. To start off with, child sims will have neutral confidence, but regular interactions and performing tasks can help your child sim build that up and end up with high confidence. I don't actually know what it would take to have a child with low confidence, because it seems everything they do increases confidence. I guess if you just locked them in a room with no interactions, maybe they would get a low one. One of the gameplay features I really like about this pack is the ability to add new traits as a result of gameplay. For example, an adult sim who has 3 traits will be able to add another 3 traits based on how they behave. A sim that spends a lot of time with their family might get a pop-up asking if they want to add the family-oriented trait. I really like this feature because it's just more realistic. People change all the time. They might start a behaviour later on in life, and so it makes sense that certain traits are gained only after a sim engages in a consistent behaviour. New traits aren't the only thing adults can experience throughout their lives. There's now the possibility of a midlife crisis, which sort of acts as a second set of aspirational goals. When your sim starts to experience a midlife crisis, they'll often get lost in deep thought about life and will choose one of 4 midlife crisis phases. My sim experienced the desire to create midlife crisis, which meant that he wanted to do more creative things and also wanted to get more involved in gardening. If you complete the tasks associated with The Sims Crisis, they'll get over it, but if you don't, it'll go away eventually. Infants and toddlers also have quirks. After only a few minutes of gameplay, you will quickly discover what quirks are. They can pop up at any time that is relevant to the quirk. For example, my infant decided to wake up at 4 AM and so was given the quirk of early riser. She also spat out her peas and was given the quirk of picky eater. My infant ended up having around 3 quirks at one time, and my toddler also had a few quirks like loves books and loves being carried. Quite a small gameplay feature we got is the keepsake box. It's a little family box that can be used essentially as a second inventory. The elder sim of the family is initially in charge of the box, and they can entrust the box to another member of the family when they're ready to pass the torch. You can store things like first tooth certificates, homework books, photos, anything your sim might find sentimental. The keeper of the box can also ponder the meaning of family, which can be passed on to the next sim who looks in the box. You also get 3 new social events: baby shower, sleepover, and family reunion. The baby shower event was probably the most underwhelming I felt. It was mainly just social interactions involving talking about the baby. There is a confetti cannon and Sims can give baby shower gifts if they want to, but these interactions aren't so obvious during the event. The sleepover event was a bit more involved than the baby shower. This time around, the tasks were a mixture of social interactions and also activities like eating food together, telling stories, dancing to music, etc. This event would have been fun if it hadn't been for the fact that I either couldn't get my Sims to eat at the same time, despite being in a group, or I couldn't get the objective ticked off because the game just didn't recognise that my Sims were doing the task. If those issues were resolved, I can definitely see the sleepover event as a fun experience, but for right now, it's quite frustrating. The family reunion event was quite a sweet one. The main objective involving eating a meal together, talking about family, and taking family photos. I can see myself using this event fairly regularly, and overall, it was a positive experience. Then we have stayovers, not to be confused with social events. A stayover can be arranged over the phone or in the calendar. The idea is pretty simple. Sims can invite their friends or family to come over and stay for a few days. While staying over, your guests will not be controllable, but they will help out around the house, with cooking, chores, and childcare. If you have a good enough relationship, you might even receive a call from a friend or family member asking if they can come over and stay. Overall, I thought this was a really handy feature, and definitely one that I would use again and again. The only slight glitch I noticed was that once the guests had put down their suitcase, they wouldn't interact with it again, and they'd leave it behind when they left. Sims can also experience burnout, which is meant to be similar to the midlife crisis, where your Sim might get a few extra goals to get out of a rut, and Sims can also get laid off from work. Burnout and getting laid off are the 2 things that I didn't actually experience whilst playing with this pack, so I can't really say much about these features. And that's pretty much a high-level overview of the new Growing Together pack. But is this expansion pack worth getting? I wouldn't say so right now. There are really good parts of gameplay, and I do genuinely think that this is a good pack to have, offering some game-changing features, but I also think that it's nowhere near value for money. In my opinion, the parts of this pack that I actually appreciate are the milestones, the personality customization in CAS, the treehouse, the infant stuff like the playmat and changing table, the midlife crisis / burnout situation, and the gameplay traits. Those are the things that I think make this a good pack, but I don't think that that's $40 worth of content right there. Everyone values different things in gameplay, and you might like every aspect of this pack, in which case, maybe it's worth $40, but in my opinion, this pack is worth grabbing once it's on sale. It felt very much like a game pack, not a full expansion. But that's just me. What do you think? Have you had the chance to play with this pack yet? Let me know in the comments. But for now, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, you know I love it when you do that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.